I'm Jeff Harold from the Lake County Art League, and I'm here talking to encaustic artist Bob Fesser. And Bob, would you like to go ahead and explain how you got into this and what you do with it?
Sure.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. So my background in getting in art, I don't think it's typical of how most artists get started. My formal education is actually mechanical engineering, and I have a master's degree, and I focus on heat transfer, and um, that was the bulk of my career has been in engineering and technical sales and business development. But when I was in college, I met my wife, and she was an art major, and so I decided to minor in art, just as a way to be able to relate to the artistic side.
so
And
once again, you took art in order to pick up a girl
yeah, well, yes, to keep her,
or
let's say
keep.
to keep
Okay.
her, because we'd already met, and then I was just like, I need to look at this, and I have a creative side, left brain, right brain, in that I do music, songwriting, and I perform and things like that. And so there is that creative element, but really, I mean, I went to school for engineering, and then minored in art, and then didn't really do anything with art for 35 years or so. And this was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and so I'm like 60. I'm about a year from retirement now, but my wife said, as you get ready for retirement, you need to get a hobby. And I was like, okay, because I did a lot of computer gaming, first person gaming online, and I would spend hours and hours gaming. And she said, because when you retire, you cannot spend 10 or 12 hours a day at the computer gaming. And I said, no, you're right. That would not be a good retirement. So, um, so I was asking, well, like when you say a hobby, she goes, well, why don't you think about art? And I was like, okay. And it's like I hadn't done anything with it. And so then we were at Dick Blick walking around, and there was an end cap with encaustic paint. And she goes, oh, I think you might like encaustic. And she starts describing the process of melting the paints. I happen to use a pancake griddle for my palette to melt the paints. And then as you paint each layer, you have to fuse it with heat. A lot of people use a hot air gun, or you can use a blowtorch. And I kind of like that idea of painting with fire and painting with a blowtorch. And so I was like, yeah, I might look at that. So we got a little starter set, and I was kind of messing around. And then up in Milwaukee, there was a fundraiser each fall called Hop. It's a fundraiser for AIDS Walk, Wisconsin. And so I made a piece in some of these light boxes, and uh, they sold, much to my surprise. And then I did nothing for a year. And then the next art pop, I did a couple more pieces, and I had people actually ask me what galleries I was in. And I said, no, I just do this, once a year. I'm going to retire down the road. I'm just kind of looking for a hobby to do. And they said, well, if you're ever in a gallery, let us know because we'd be interested in your pieces. I was like, okay, kind of shocked by all of that. And so that's really how I got into it, and then decided from those people expressing that interest, I thought, well, I better look into this, because there might be something here. And so 2018, I spent a good part of that year just watching YouTube videos. Took a class in Chicago on 3D and caustic, um, and really tried to learn more about the different techniques and things that you can do with caustic art. And and then that really was the genesis. In 2019, I entered my first show in the spring at a botanical garden in Milwaukee called Burner Botanical. And because it's right before Mother's Day in a botanical garden, most of my pieces were flowers, floral type theme. And I paint a lot of flowers, a lot of floral themes. I do abstract pieces as well. I was fortunate. One of my abstract pieces actually got a best in show. Um, Still do a lot of I tend to gravitate towards the realism side of the painting, I think, because of my engineering side, being more technical oriented. Um, but it's a bit of a balance now, and I'm fortunate I've gotten this few galleries, and things seem to be going pretty well, you know. So I guess
Well,
as I go into retirement, I don't have to worry about computer gaming anymore.
yeah, I noticed that you're in one of the galleries. We'll talk a little bit more about the galleries too, but I noticed you're in one up in Door County Woodwalk Gallery, I think it's the
Yes,
name of
yeah,
it.
woodwalk.
And my wife and I, before the pandemic, we'd go up there, 2, 3 times a year, and we'd always hit the galleries. And let me tell you, I've talked to them up there, and you have to be pretty damn good for them to represent you because they're very picky, and they should be, and they have absolutely fantastic artists up there, and we bought a few pieces that just incredible. One's a music box or a jewelry box that absolutely is fantastic,
Wow.
but we have some
Well,
other pieces
thank you.
too.
Yeah, thank you.
But that's
Appreciate that.
great. Your wife Laura,
Mhm.
what type of art does she do? What is she doing in the art world here?
Yeah, so her degree's in actually art education, and she's been an art teacher for a long time. Um, and she works in, I mean, she'll work in acrylics or oils, colored pencil. She does illustration pieces. She does a lot with polymer clay pieces, where she makes, I'm not even sure the process, but when she's working on these pieces, I'm like amazed and thinking how crazy it is, because she'll have thousands of these little leaves cut out, so big, and then put them into tree pieces. And one of these was like 4 feet by 4 feet. That's in the
Jeez.
Waukesha Museum. It was a commission piece, and so she's got a lot of polymer pieces. She's in a couple galleries up here around Milwaukee. Um, I think right now she's taking a plein air class with the local plein air artist who's fairly well known, and she's enjoying that. But but yeah, so she's in those different things. I think her illustration pieces are amazing. She's always kind of had this desire to illustrate. I think, and maybe do a children's book or something. But
Yeah.
um,
So you think
from
she'd be willing to do an interview with me? Because
at
it
some
sounds
point, sure.
fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would love
She's
to see some of her work. I know also you have your website, Ways of Wax, is at the bottom of the screen here for people who want to go and see it, and I highly recommend you go there. And also, I found a little section that said Laura's coming soon. You're going to be adding
yeah,
her to the website.
yeah. So because again, I take a different approach. I do business development. So when I decided in 2019 to, okay, I'm going to grow this art business, I laid it out more like a business plan and said, here's what I have to do with networking and establish myself and get
Mhm.
into galleries and so on and so forth, and set up a website. And I do a lot in social media as a volunteer with different groups. And so I kind of laid all that out. And she saw after 2 years, I'm in 5 galleries, and all these shows and everything. And she was in one gallery, and she basically said she's an excellent artist, and when I work on a piece, I'll bring them to her and say, tell me what's good, tell me what's bad, because you have to be open to that kind of critique. And for her, it was always about the contrast. You need more contrast
Yeah.
here, you need more lights here. And so I'm constantly getting that feedback from her. But then she said, can you, like, I need help to grow this as an art business, because I've been in one gallery for 15 years, and not, do a couple shows here and there. So I talked to a gallery in Menominee Falls that I'm in, and they were totally interested in the polymer pieces. And she's been in there for about 3, 4 months now. She's sold
Yeah.
5 or 6 pieces already, and different things. And then I said, well, we got to get you a website presence. I said, you don't have to maintain, like, I maintain my own website. I'm comfortable doing that. But I used to have a section on my website of pieces that I sold. And I said, I'll get rid of that, and I'll replace it with a gallery of your work. And then we can start to advertise. That's your website. We can set up a link, people can go see it. And then
Yeah.
that way you start to have a website presence without having to, pay for web hosting and all that kind of stuff. So I guess technically she's the first artist that I'm virtually representing in my Ways of Wax gallery. So We'll call it that. But I'm
Hey,
not taking a commission,
that's
but
that's
so
what you need. Well,
yeah. So
I think being your wife, I think you owe her that, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, if she starts
Need to
selling pieces,
work
then we'll
together.
talk
Yeah.
commission. So so
uh, yeah, but yeah, that's interesting. And quite frankly, what I'm seeing here is you are not only a very talented artist, but also you have a lot of business sense and also the technical skill to maintain the website and do. And I was looking at the website. We'll look at the website in a few minutes,
sure.
but an excellent job on it.
Thank
And
you.
that's one thing that I think would really help your wife. Definitely. I remember one person told me that they were talking to Dennis Downs, who's a well-known sculptor, lives in Antioch, and they asked him, when did he start? When did he get to be famous and start selling and everything? He said, the only time I got to that point was when I got a business manager to run it.
Okay.
So you can be your wife's, you can be Laura's business manager and help her run it. And then as it gets too much, you guys can go out and hire another business manager for both of you.
There we go. Yep.
How's
Yeah.
that?
So
I'm helping you with your business plan here. I don't want to
there you
see you
go.
going back to
Yeah.
all the gaming when you retire. So you got to keep
No, no,
busy.
I'm so busy now. It's between involvement with the art community in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and League of Milwaukee Artists. I'm their vice president now, and I'm in
Ah,
charge of setting up programming for our monthly meetings and that. I'm helping them with social media and other aspects to help kind of grow their presence. So
okay.
I've got plenty to keep me busy art wise. And I have no, I mean, gaming's not even in the equation anymore. So
Yeah, that's
I'm
good.
looking forward to when I can just do art full time in another year. So
That's great. All right. And speaking of art, I've got one of the pieces right here behind me, and we're going to look at that because
yep,
I pulled this off the website, and I just sort of really like this. And I think this is one of the ones you're talking about that you have tendency to do more realistic as opposed to abstract work with your encaustic art.
yeah.
And this is I find this amazing. And I have to go back to my old Reliable. I'm a great Impressionist fan, and this is definitely something that I would expect from the Impressionist artwork. So, what
Well, yeah. Thank you. And
what made you decide to do this one in particular? Is there anything behind it, any
yeah,
story?
sure. So well, it was yeah, go big or go home. Um, so when I got into Woodwalk Gallery, they indicated how much wall space you had, and it was kind of a combination of pieces depending on the size. And so the largest I'd ever worked was 11 by 14, and I realized I needed to work to make larger pieces. So this one's actually 18 by 24, and it's the second like large piece that I did. The other one was this tiger lily that sold up there at Woodwalk. But so my first reason was to make larger pieces of art. But then when you said impressionism, I love impressionistic art, and originally the art was very realistic, and I still do that. But with this piece here, what I wanted to try, and I had done a smaller piece too that was very similar to this, and this was doing it on a large scale. But with encaustic painting, so the paints themselves are Damar resin, beeswax, and pigments. And then there's encaustic medium, which is basically the paint without the pigment in it. And you start with that first on the board, and that's the first layer. And so what I wanted to do with this painting was the background. As you go further back in the painting, like with oils, you're painting that first, but then I was putting layers of encaustic medium. So it's like a clear, you can kind of see it in some areas where it almost looks like it's white in
Yeah.
color.
Uh-huh.
Um, and the other thing with encaustic is it's really difficult to photograph. But when you see a pieces live, you can see all the depth in the wax. But with that, I really started to build these layers of paint and then the medium and then paint and medium. So then the last layers I did were some of the poppies in front, especially like the ones on the to the left of the screen. Those are like the last things I painted, and so they're very clear and the colors are very bright and vibrant. So you get a lot of depth, and I it was somewhat realism, but I was trying to keep it a little bit looser with I wanted the focus to be on the poppies and not so much the leaves and everything else going
Yeah,
on and
and they do
different colors
pop.
in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
they
So
pop
I was
nicely when
really
you look
happy
at.
with
So
how this. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm happy with how this turned out. So this was one of the in a series of wildflower paintings. Um, and but so that was really it was in doing this method, and I'm still working on that more, where I layer in more of the encaustic medium between the layers of paint just to give it more depth. And then for me, when I fuse this, uh, I have to turn the flame in the blowtorch way down. I don't know when we do the demo if we'll be able to see the flame, but I turn it way down so there's hardly any air in the flame mixture, and then I can go in and melt the wax without distorting it too much because that air even in the
yeah,
flame will start to blow the wax around and then you start to lose
yeah,
definition in it.
okay,
And then some of the things where in the lower right there's like those the buds with the I don't know, it's kind of like little spikes on the stems.
yeah,
That's just some paint really, really light at the very end with super, super light fusing. It's hardly melted or fused into the wax at all. So because I just wanted to keep that definition being the last layer. So that was the
yeah.
kind of bit behind
It's
that paint.
yeah, it's like I say, the whole thing pops. I mean, your color palette on it is very nice. I like that, and you actually have a feeling of depth, almost a three-dimensional effect on it, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm just looking at it from a picture. I'd love to see this in real life and actually see the actual work. Uh,
Well, if you get up to
that's great.
Woodwalk Gallery, it'll be there this season. So
Well, hey, we're going to try and get up there this year, so I will
yeah.
make a point of going to Woodwalk and seeing what you've got up there, and then what else is up there.
Yep.
Uh, okay, so on this one, how long would it take you to complete something like this?
Yeah, it's funny. People ask me. I'm doing a large piece right now, this red hibiscus, and I'm trying to keep track of the hours because I don't know. I'm gonna guess of actual painting time, probably 40 hours. And for when you paint with encaustic, it's actually a little bit quicker than when you're painting with oils or acrylics. Because once I pull the fire away and the wax solidifies, I can keep right on painting, and it's not going to get muddy or anything. If one area of the painting starts to get too hot, I might put
Yeah,
some cold water on it just to cool the temperature down so I can keep painting. But for the most part, I can paint nonstop if I wanted to for 10 or 12 hours on a piece
yeah,
and maybe get it done in 2 days if I wanted to, you know.
wow,
But and then the other part of it is when the painting is done, the Damar resin that's in the mixture has to clear. And depending on the thickness of the wax and the number of layers, that could take up to 3 months, 4 months before it's fully cured. And what happens when you first finish a painting and the resin starts to cure, it gets a haze over it. And so you have to buff it. I either use a really soft cotton cloth or like old nylon
huh,
kind of nylon cloth that actually helps does it really well. You need something like that so you can buff out the haze from the resin curing, but not scratch the wax.
yeah,
So that's one of the early learning curves that you go through is how to do that. Because trust me, I messed up a lot of paintings when I was trying to buff them out until I found the right cloth to use and everything. So anytime, so it may take, I could paint something like this in maybe a week and a half, because I'm going to obviously take breaks in between. But then I have to let it sit for another 3 months or so before I would take it anywhere to sell it, just because I don't
yeah,
want it to haze up when the
yeah.
person has it. I don't want that resin to keep curing and then make that haze up. the colors, and it
Yeah.
has a
Well,
huge impact on what you can see in the colors and all.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I'd love to see this in person, and hopefully I'll get up there and we'll see it or see you
Yeah,
somewhere else. Uh, yeah, and yeah, it's really hard for I think artists to keep track of how long does it actually take them to do a painting, unless they're doing it in like a 2 hour sitting or something like that.
right, right,
But I know I was talking to Danny Gross, who's a digital illustrations, and uh, she actually has doing the digital. It actually the product actually keeps track of how many strokes she does, how long she's on it,
yeah,
what have you. And so I asked her about that, and she said, "Oh, I used to think it was like 3 or 4 hours," and then she went and she looked at the recording of how much time, and it
yeah.
was like 11 hours that she'd actually
Wow.
spent on it. So I think artists sometimes underestimate how much time they actually spend, partly because they're having fun.
Yeah, you kind
I
of
know
get
it's my
lost in it.
case.
You,
Yeah.
you get lost in it, and you're working in different areas, and yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
yeah, because there's been plenty of times you're working and you look up at the clock and 6 hours have gone by, and you're like, whoa, it's like where did that time go? So yeah,
Okay, sort of like gaming.
yes, unfortunately, yeah,
More beneficial though.
that's right,
And
that's
I
right.
think I think you have a very smart wife. Okay, who's
Amen to that, brother.
making you consider that as a retirement job or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
So okay, all right. How about we take a look at your website quick?
sure. Yep, sounds good.
Okay, Ways of Wax, and that's basically the website address was just waysofwax one word.com, and it's under
Right.
Bob's picture. You've been seeing that, so you can go there. And first thing, just so you know, here's Laura. Whoops. Uh, here's Laura's gallery. So,
Yeah,
and you,
that's an
you don't have
acrylic
anything.
painting. Yep.
Yeah, you don't have
She's got the
anything there
one
yet.
painting. Yeah. Well, there's
Oh,
that
she's
one painting she's got. Yeah, it's an acrylic painting. She's doing a series up close of glass.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so if you and that's actually a large piece. I'm still working on hers. I haven't put the information in, um, all the information on the painting, but I think it's probably uh, it's probably 18 by 24. Also, it's a fairly large piece,
Yeah.
but it almost looks abstract,
Oh,
because
here we go.
it's
Here
a
we go. Here,
super
let's see if we can do a quick view
it's a
here.
super close
There you
up
go.
of glass, just
Yeah,
up very very close, and so it almost looks abstract until you sit back and realize what it is. So
yeah,
yep, that's her.
yeah. Great. All right. Well, hopefully in the future we'll see her up there, see more of her work. And like I,
I'm waiting for these artists to give me JPEGs, and I'm just waiting and waiting. I tell you, as a gallery owner, it's very frustrating. So just kidding.
yeah, no. We go through the same thing. I had that problem with Antioch Fine Art Foundation when I was a member there, and I'm in the Lake County Art League, obviously, and we're trying to get our website and members to send us stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't very good at that. And so, what I've been doing is I tell them, "Hey, look, you just take a picture with your iPhone or whatever, and send it to me. I'll get it Photoshop, I'll fancy it up, and we'll put it out there." Or
Yep.
I have one artist that Roger Schul, who does these matchbook artworks pieces, and I would do photographs for him to enter into the exhibition contest and what have you. And
I think
so
I saw his pieces up in Kenosha. This is
uh,
papers.
very very likely he's got him up
Yeah.
there. He's does a good business on him, and it's a very unique piece that he does. So
Yeah, they're very cool.
I sort of bribed him into doing a self portrait for me on a matchbook. So I got his self portrait. So
Nice.
anyway, anyways, let's whoops. I keep pressing the wrong thing here. All right, let's take a look at encaustic paintings. We getting there? There we go. Okay, so these are all yours, and like you say, abstracts are really one thing that's about the only thing I've ever really seen in acoustic. Now, I haven't seen a lot, but the few that I have seen, it's basically just been abstracts. But this is the wildflowers here is the one that I was just showing you. We were just looking
Yep.
at. But you also have what was the other one? Oh, this one was I found this one interesting. Sunset Wave.
Yeah, the weight.
Yeah, yeah,
Excuse me, I'm coughing. Yeah, so this is looking through a wave at a sunset. So those are clouds in the background. And
yeah.
one of the things you can do with encaustic while it's still warm is you can burnish in gold leaf. I have some with silver leaf, gold leaf, copper leaf. And so I did that to kind of highlight
Ah,
the sun, at the peak of the wave. And then some of the pieces you frame on the side of these, I do what's called shushugiban. And basically all I'm doing is taking my blowtorch and burning the sides of the cradle board.
yeah.
If you go to the next picture would show that. Um, and
Uh,
somehow, yeah,
you're
somehow
talking
in there,
about this guy?
no, no, back in the sunset wave painting. Yeah, there it's kind of showing. There's actually two pictures in it. If
Oh,
you
I
click
see.
on the
I see.
second picture, yeah,
Yeah.
yep, there you go.
Okay, so let's get the second one
Yeah,
up here.
so
Oh, I
that's
see.
just kind of showing people that it's Shushugi Ban on the side, and that's one of the changes I've made in the whole 2.5 years that I've been painting so much time. Is I used to leave that side of the cradle board untouched, but now I burn them all. I hit them all with the blowtorch, and part of
Yeah,
that's just when I'm framing it, you eliminate that kind of hard edge in there where you see in the raw wood. So now
yeah,
I shushugi on all of the cradle boards on the side. Some
yeah.
encaustic artists actually will paint the sides. I mean acrylic artists do that too, oil painters, but
Well,
that's
it's
just one of
almost
the
it's
yeah.
like they do with canvas when they do the museum wrap. Basically,
Right.
you run
Yeah.
along
And
the edges and not or to hide the frame and everything. You're disguising it, which and it looks nice. It's great.
yeah, thanks. So to me it makes like a more finished piece, and it's shushugi ban, so it sounds cool.
Yeah.
At least
It's
I
a
think it
mark.
does. I don't know.
It's a marketing
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you. That looks much better. I mean, I can understand where you might have something that is actually looks better with like a natural wood,
Right.
side for it. Depending upon what you're doing this on. What do you use as your substrate for these things?
It's 99% of them are just cradle boards. I go to Blick and buy a 6 pack of cradle boards, or if it's different sizes, I'll build my own out of like quarter inch, really good covered birch plywood or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but typically I'll just buy cradle boards. I, I'm a I'm a big Dick Blick fan, so
Well, yeah, I've been in their
makes life
stores and
easier.
I've ordered some stuff from them, and yeah, they have a nice selection, and usually if you need it, they probably got it. So
Yeah, if you want, there's a couple paintings. If you wanted to click it, there are techniques involved. Like the one that it says red window, kind of right in the middle there.
which one? Red
Yeah,
Window or Red Window one and
either
three?
one. They're all. It's all
Okay,
the single one. It'd probably be a bigger picture when you click on it.
okay,
But so in there, one of the techniques you can do is incising. And so what that is if you look in the middle of that painting in the red window part of it, there's
yeah,
those black lines.
yeah,
And what you're doing there is while the wax is still warm, you cut into it I just have like this kind of dental scraping tool that I use. And then you let the wax cool off, and then you fill it with another colored wax, and then fuse that, and then you scrape it. I use this kind of scraping knife to scrape it, and then that'll leave different patterns. And so you can go in and create different patterns or whatever you're trying to do into the wax, and then fill it with
huh,
a different color.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, like kind of around the edge of it where you see the lines, the horizontal and vertical lines. That's done the same way. So that's incising.
Yeah.
And then,
Interesting.
if you hit the next button, I think it takes you to the 321 blue.
Whoops. Hang on.
No, you're good. You're good.
No.
Yeah,
I have
there.
I have a monitor that I'm watching stuff on, and then I have a laptop which is control everything. And
Oh, okay.
I have my cursor on the monitor, doesn't do a thing for me, and I sit here and click it.
Oh,
So I got to make
so,
sure on the
so this
right
is,
monitor.
yep. So this is
Good.
when you see this, I don't know if you just click on one of the pictures, if it makes it any larger. Like it shows the three on the side. That's the whole triptych right there. But this is called accretion, where you're actually brushing on the wax while it's colder. Yeah.
Oh,
And
there.
so you build up the wax. And then as you change the color of the encaustic paint that you pick, so obviously I would start with the darker blues and then paint lighter blues on top of that, and then eventually just the white. Yeah, so that's a good shot. Thank you. It just shows how you can build the wax up.
Yeah.
And that, again, that technique is accretion. So you have the incising that you can do. You have accretion, and I really like the texture that you get with the accretion pieces.
Yeah. This
Again,
one looks
there's a
great.
lot of depth, and yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of depth involved. And then another technique, you'd have to go back to the gallery view because it's going to be the painting called Shoreline. Uh, yep, like
I see it.
Shoreline one. Yeah. So another thing you can do is it's shellac, just like you would buy in a paint store, regular old shellac, and
Yeah.
you put in powdered pigments and you mix it up and you brush it on the painting and you light it on fire. And
Yeah. That's something I was reading about. I was going to ask you if you've done that, the shellac burn.
yeah, I love doing shellac burns. And again, when you learn, you have to redo a few pieces every so often. Um, but then once the shellac burns off, you can still hit it with your blowtorch to further manipulate the pattern. And so in this one here, it happened to be I put gold powdered pigment into the shellac. So
Yeah.
once the shellac burns, it leaves this gold pattern in the wax.
Wow.
And then I went in with powdered pigments, and once it cools off, then I burnish those in, and then I would do like another layer of shellac burn, let it cool,
Yeah.
burnish in different colored pigments.
Have you ever tried alcohol ink?
I have not. No,
Okay,
not tried that.
I was curious because I was checking stuff out on the web, and I found out one uh, thing they were talking about the alcohol ink in combination actually with the shellac burn is what the artist was doing.
Oh wow, yeah,
So
yeah. I've used
something for you to try.
yeah, no alcohol inks, and some I've taken India ink, and done. I did one that's called Busy Bee, where I actually drew a bee with India ink over the image. It's under the photo transfers where you can actually transfer images into the wax. But I've used India ink, but never the alcohol inks.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
I'll
all
definitely
right.
check that out. So
Let me ask you one down
sure.
here. I'm being a photographer. These guys impress me, or it all impresses me. But I'm just curious. This is just straight black and white. Is this just your ink?
I'm sorry.
Is this just ink that you're using for this
Oh no,
black and white?
these are all 100% encaustic paintings.
Yeah.
So this is all just black. I mean, I basically did this reflection series where I just used
Uh-huh.
uh, I don't know, I had 4 or 5 different shades of black and then white, and then just from photographs and things like that. I just tried to recreate the moonlight, setting on the waves. But it's totally encaustic painting.
Yeah.
Actually, people ask me that when they see some of the paintings. They're asking um, if I painted over photographs or something, and it's like, no, it's totally. Or if I'm mixing in oils or something, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
it's totally encaustic because you normally, again, you don't see a lot of detail caustic piece. There's plenty out
Okay.
there, but typically you don't see it.
Yeah, I know, and that's what sort of amazed me about this one because when I looked at it, first thing I thought is I've actually done photograph of moonlight on the water
Mhm.
like that, and actually done it at noon in the day in order and mimicked the moonlight. But
Okay.
uh, that's why it caught my attention so much is I've never seen that with what little caustic I've seen. But uh, yeah, it's great. Can we go to the photo transfers once here?
Sure, sure.
Just purely because we just had Richard Medina did us a little demo on photo transfers that he uses in his art. Uh, and I was just curious about what sort of a process you use for this.
Sure. Yeah. So
And
this is
so you do a photo transfer and then you do the encaustic over it.
yeah, what you do is it depends. I mean, there's different ways to do it. You can print on rice paper and then soak that in the encaustic medium and fuse that right into the wax.
Huh?
Um, like the crows that are there, that it says October crows,
October crows.
right?
Shall we
Yeah,
look
so
at those?
that's a little typical of one where I have these are just little 4x4 pieces, my kind of tiny art thing. Um, but it's just encaustic. Well, first I put encaustic gesso over the wood, and you got to use encaustic gesso, not regular, because it's a different how it will adhere to the encaustic medium. If you use acrylic gessos, the encaustic painting can actually fall right off of the board, so you have to use
Oh,
encaustic. It won't, yeah, it won't
good
stick.
point.
And
Good
so,
point.
so you, yeah, yeah, people have had that happen, and I would hate for that. So you're doing caustic gesso because the white helps the photograph to pop, once you transfer it. And then you're doing caustic medium. And this is one of those where you just, I have a whole tote of boards I need to go through and melt off the wax and reuse them. But you just kind of learn after trial and error. You let that medium cool for just, I don't know, a minute, let's say a minute or two, and then you have your image, and you got to remember the image is going to reverse itself. So I did some for a blues fest where I had guitar players and I ended up playing guitar left-handed instead of right-handed because I forgot I need to flip the image before I flipped it into the wax. But basically you put the image on top of the really really warm medium, and then you burnish it. And I think this is a common technique where you burnish into the wax, and you do it a long time. It's like I tell people, if you think you're done burnishing it, burnish it for another 2 or 3 minutes, and then you take water. And I should have prefaced it. I print the image out on a laser jet, and then you
Yeah.
burnish it into the wax. Put water on it that dissolves the paper, and then you keep rubbing it with your finger to get all of that paper off the image. And then I fuse it in with heat. Again, in this case, I use a blowtorch. In the case of like the echinacea or the backyard ones there, I actually put those in the reclaimed pieces of barn board, and I transfer the images, and then I paint. I kind of paint over them just to highlight the images, to give the background a little darker, just to help the colors of the flowers to pop, things like
Yeah.
that.
No, no.
Um,
What's the board on the back? Is that just something you set the painting on to show it in the photo, or is
no,
that
that
part of
it's
the actual
actually
work?
in right. That's part of the work.
Okay.
I've stopped at farms where they've had
Yeah.
piles of barn board,
Yeah.
and I've offered to buy it, and usually they say, "Nah, just take it." And I'll just cut them to size, and then I'll take a wood chisel, and I'll scrape out the area where I'm going to
Oh,
transfer the image, and then mask it off. You still got a little bleeding through from caustic medium. That's something I'm still trying to figure out how to do. But I'll use that, and I'll take my wood chisels, and then gesso it, fill it with the encaustic medium, and then transfer the image. So when it's done, you kind of have a framed piece when it's finished, instead of having to frame it afterwards. So
yeah.
I keep experimenting with that.
Maybe as and you probably know this better than I do. Just once you chisel out that section, maybe applying a little bit of sealer to the
Mhm.
edge
Sure.
okay,
Yeah.
before you do it. Maybe that'll help stop the bleeding.
I
I'm
would
not
try that.
I'm not sure how that will react. I mean, I've done a little woodworking myself, and I know the sealers are nice to, polypropylene on them and stuff like that, or the poly
Yeah.
on them, and that helps prevent water or anything going through. So
Yeah. Because I would like
who
it to
knows?
be a cleaner. Some people have said they like it, and then one gallery said they liked it, and another said they didn't. They wanted it to look cleaner. So I'm just trying to
Yeah,
figure out, how to do that. It's, what gallery owners, they know their clientele and what they're going to be.
and like I say, it's a cat show.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a phrase I learned from a photographer I taking a class at the garden.
Yeah. That's
Because
true.
you got to, anytime you look at this stuff, you submit your work to a gallery or for a juried exhibition or something like that, you got to take in consideration that, I've had one piece where in one show it got like second place and the other show it got nothing. And, it's just a matter of who's looking at what time of day, what they had for breakfast or whatever. I don't know. It's sometimes it's really hard to tell how they come up with these things. But no, I
Exactly.
don't. I don't know if if that works. You can call it the Jeff technique.
There you go. Right.
uh, okay. All
I
right.
will
Well.
give credit where it's due. So,
Okay. Real quick, let's do some self promotion here for you.
okay.
Whoops. On the wrong monitor again. Uh, okay. Homepage and scroll. Whoops. I gotta scroll down here. Okay. I keep going to the wrong monitor. Okay, we
So
got a
I,
lot of stuff here. You've got
right.
Woodwalk Gallery, which we talked about, uh, the Art Lounge Gallery,
Yeah. The
and
gallery in
I can't
Ocala.
pronounce that. Yeah, whatever that
Yeah.
is.
It's the owner is Lori Boldig, Lori. So it's like
Yeah.
Gal Lori Gallery. So,
Ah, okay.
and then the art guide is because I had won some online competitions. There's a Saddleback Gallery in Arizona that does virtual shows, and I've been finalist and I've won some of those for best in show. And so then they put you in the art guide, which again, all of this I'm just trying to drive traffic to my website, or
Oh yeah,
in the case these are all hyperlinks, so if someone's at my page, they can go to Woodwalk and it'll take them, to my page there so they can see the art. The gallery and
okay,
the art lounge, there's some virtual gallery there, but more it's if people are going to be out traveling, they know that's where they can find my
yeah,
artwork. So
yeah, okay.
then I
Well,
have
you
a little
can,
bit further up, there's links to my Facebook and Instagram accounts as well. So
yeah,
um,
and anyone looking for like your Facebook or Instagram,
yep.
look for ways of wax,
Yeah,
right?
everything is
Because it's
ways of
all
wax.
labeled that way, right?
Right. And
Okay.
that tied into my business plan. So my artist statement was very simple. When people see my art, I just want them to go, wow. Uh, that was it. And I love, the techniques of hot wax and encaustic painting. It was
Yeah.
basically so people go, wow, and wow is ways of wax. So that was kind of how
Okay.
it all
I'm
tied
sorry.
together.
You slipped that one by me.
Yeah. So
I I was just thinking of that, and I said, yeah. Well, quite frankly, that's what every artist wants, is someone to look
yeah,
at their work and
yeah,
say, "Wow." But
yeah.
ways of wax. Okay,
So yeah,
you
so
slipped that
someone
one by
posts,
me.
if someone does a comment on a piece that I post in an encaustic group and they go, "Wow," I'm like, "Thank you." That means more than If someone just goes, "Wow,"
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
and I'm good.
Our
I'm good.
our artists love. We all love seeing our work appreciated. Okay,
Yes, absolutely.
and even if we don't, even for us that don't sell that much or have our work in galleries like this full time, what have you, we still love it when someone buys
Yeah,
something or just shows an
yeah.
appreciation for it.
Yeah, I don't know if it gets bigger, but there's that picture right by Woodwalk to the left of Woodwalk. That's actually the space I work on, where you can kind of see the blowtorch and the pancake griddle. That's where I'm melting my wax.
Uh,
Uh, But
No, no,
anyways, yeah.
no, it doesn't get any bigger.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't
So
know.
I just clicked on it and
Yeah.
nothing happened. So,
Yeah.
so
But
maybe you should put that somewhere where you can click on it and actually see it.
yeah, yes. It could be somewhere else. I don't know. I just saw it there and thought, oh, maybe because it's you know, and there is with the wax. I mean, you got to be careful. I'm under a. I bought a range hood because if the wax smokes, it's toxic. So
Yeah.
you gotta watch your temperature where you're melting the wax and things like that. And there's
Uh,
obviously when you're lighting shellac on fire and
yeah.
you don't want to be necessarily breathing those fumes. So you do some of it outside and I mean over time if I'm doing a small burn I'll do it in my studio, but if I've got a large piece that I'm going to light on fire I'll do that outside just because
Yeah.
I don't want
Okay.
to deal with the potential side effects if something goes wrong. So,
Yeah, I understand that. I used to do my own black and white development and printing when I was
oh
starting
yeah.
photography, and I was in a one-bedroom apartment, and I was able to just put a tarp over the entrance to my kitchen, and I do it in the kitchen,
Okay.
you know, and that wasn't too bad. It was then I started investigating doing like color printing. And then I started looking at the how caustic and dangerous the chemicals were for it. And I said, nah,
Sure.
nah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll do a little bit
Can't
of black and
imagine.
white. Make
Some of
sure you
those
don't,
must be. Yeah.
yeah, the
Some of those got to be
one I
really
add
bad.
some fixer to my cereal or something like that. So, yeah, no, yeah, that's one thing that uh, you really need to be careful with is anytime you're working with something toxic like that, with woodworking, you got the fumes from the stains and things like that if you're
Mhm.
not careful and what have you. So, okay, well, you're going to be doing a demo for us in a couple of weeks. We were talking
Yep.
about that, uh, and that's it. You mentioned this to your wife, Laura, because I would love to do an interview with her and get her side of the story of why you took a minor in art in college,
Sure. Yeah.
and see if your see if your stories match.
Hopefully our stories match. So, but that's my version, and I'm sticking with it. So yeah,
Yeah, well, I tell everyone my wife drugged me, and so I keep saying that's my story, and I'm sticking to it too.
that's
So,
right. That's right.
but what would we do without our better halves? I mean, yeah. So,
I'd be playing video games, be online gaming, and not doing art. So
yeah.
for sure, that's one thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right. So, thank you for spending the time with us here. And like I say, I hope to see you. We'll be seeing you in a week from yesterday, or 2 weeks from yesterday, uh,
yes. Yeah.
for the
21st.
demo that you're going to be doing for the Lake County Art League. And I'm sure people will have more questions for you there.
Well, yeah. I mean, thanks a lot, Jeff. I really appreciate the time, and I'm trying to put a demo together to at least show some of the different techniques and things involved, you know, so hopefully that'll give people a good appreciation of what it is you do with encaustic and I just hope I hope it's interesting and that people you know will enjoy it. So, but I do
Yeah.
appreciate this time and this
The,
opportunity.
the
So,
the one thing I'd like to have you make sure that you add to it, okay,
so
and you don't necessarily have to demo, but just a brief talk about your photo transfers and the difference
okay,
between the encaustic gas, gas Gestapo or whatever it was, Gestapo,
the gesso,
gesso,
yeah,
gesso.
gesso, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because we just had a demo for photo transfer from Richard Medina, and
okay,
he was using just regular, the guest whatever it
gesso,
is.
gesso,
I'll get one of these Jessups.
or spaccio,
Okay.
yes, gesso.
Yeah. Thinking of Italian food here. Uh, but yeah, yeah, if you would, because if anyone's going to try that in conjunction with the encaustic, they're
Right.
that'd be nice for them to know that their work isn't going to
Yeah,
fall
yeah.
off.
Right. Yeah. 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 I was luckily I saw a YouTube video and the person stressed, make sure it's encaustic gesto and not regular. And here's why. And it's like, okay, so yeah, but yeah, we'll definitely include that. So
Okay. Okay, that's great. All right. I look forward to talking to you then again. So
likewise, see you
you
on
have
the
a nice
21st.
day. You
Yeah,
have a nice
you
day,
as
and I
well.
know you got to go to work. I don't, so I will let you
Okay,
go.
yeah, yeah, at least for another year. So
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot.
thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.